Thank you so much. So thank you for joining. The session is being recorded. I'm Joanna Tivig, and together with Peter, we scheduled this amazing webinars, and we bring you these amazing guests. This is our 10th webinar. It's about product owner tools. And today our guest is Amin Panjwani, and now I will pass it on to Peter to introduce Amin.
Thank you, Joanna, and welcome everyone, and welcome Amin. It's a pleasure having you here. Joanna and I did a webinar with you last year sometime. It was in the COVID age anyway, about product ownership. So we're glad to have you here to talk about tools that product owners, product managers will use. Now, if we've got Amin's bio posted, and you can go to LinkedIn. But I will just more share a personal point of view. I met him oh my goodness, 7 years ago now or so, when we were both teaching at University of Toronto. Min was teaching a PMO course, and we would work together. This is before he was the managing partner at Execute Strategy. Worked at a company that's no longer around, at least in Canada, on the course. And it was great. And when his offices existed or they were used, they're just down the street from me. So we've met up for lunch a couple of times, and it's been kind of nice. But Amin has done a wonderful job with Execute Strategy and his team there in working with different organizations, helping them understand how to implement Agile, how to use Agile tools, and increasingly he's working more at the strategy level to show them it's not just the use of the Agile product, but Agile approaches, but it's how the product will help deliver strategy. So we thought it would be great to have him in here to share some of his thoughts and insights with you around tools that you may run into and the pros and cons of the tools. However, before we go any further, I don't want to take any more time away from Amin. I know he's got some things prepared for us. Whenever I think about tools, I think about a cute story I heard about Harold Kersner. Now, Harold Kersner was a guru in the project management field in the 80s and 90s. I think his book is still in publication. It's still a reference book for the PMP exam. But he tells a story about being called up by one of the large North American auto manufacturers to help them with their project management. And he walks into the boardroom at the top of their glass office building with a room full of senior executives, and they very proudly have on the table the box with their project management software they work. They've just bought, I should say. So he talks they have a chat, and so the conversation goes back and around, and eventually they say, look, Dr. Kersner, we bought this great software. What's the first thing we should do? And his answer was, fire the person who bought it. Because after all, you want to figure out what the processes are, what you want to use the software for before you buy the software. The software should support the processes, support your objectives, not drive them. So with that little story, I'll shut up and turn over to Amin to share some of his thoughts and some of his experiences. So Amin, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Joanna, and thanks, Peter, for having me. It definitely has been a great partnership, and I've enjoyed working with you guys. And thanks for everyone for taking time out of your busy schedules for attending this session. Weather's getting, in Toronto at least, weather's getting a little bit milder, so I'm not going to jinx anything, but hopefully I just did. That's right. All right, so I'm gonna let me get my presentation going, and okay, now I get the trick. Peter told me about the trick, but then I didn't do the trick.
I do my best, but some people are harder to work with than others.
The challenge is when I run the slideshow, my both screens get taken over, and then I cannot see Zoom. So give me 1 sec here. Let's see. I think this should work.
There we go. Oh, there we go. Perfect.
Okay, perfect. All right. Thank you. All right, so here's the brief agenda together today. I'm going to share some of the work that we've done at Execute Strategy with some of the clients. So, so just to kind of share with you build some context and some of the work on the tool side we do, and then throughout the presentation, look, you guys can go Google top 10 tools for product managers, right, and you get the answers to that. And I'm hoping you're not here for me to kind of tell you the names of specific tools. What I would love to do is use my knowledge and the work we've done with some of the clients in terms of how we've taken them down a journey of either a tool selection or where they have a set of tools, what we've done to try to consolidate them or being able to kind of form a center of excellence when it comes to using the best of the breed tools, if you will, right? So along the journey, I'll share some of those real life examples that I'm hoping will be valuable, and I'll share examples of both as if you are a team member within a team or a staff member, because your level of influence is different than if you are coming in as a contractor or a consultant. External contractor consultants coming in the team for managing the project, and either as a product owner or as a scrum master or even a coach in terms of what those experiences would be, right? So that's kind of the focus of that. The first two parts of the conversation today. Then we have a demo prepared for you for one of the tools that we work with, two of the tools that we work with very frequently, which is Monday.com and Jira, and I'll show you the connectivity of those and how do we use Monday as a central tool to manage all work, and then bring in Jira tasks into Monday and have that two-way connection between that, and then we'll take questions in the end. Okay, so let's get started. So from an executive strategy perspective, just to form kind of context, what we do is that we are actually in the game of tools. We empower organizations with implementing work management, product management, work automation tools. So we do kind of everything end to end in terms of sales to service to implementation to building out the tools, training, and then integration with third party. And our claim to fame is, and I think this is something that if you were a contractor or consultant, working with your client, kind of thinking about tools really is the means to the end. So whenever we work with our clients, we always kind of say, look, if you can get something done on paper and have the process and the people component of that defined, and you can manage that process or a workflow or something on paper. And I remember in some of our early days during managing a Kanban board, and now of course we are much more virtual world, but it was all about visualization. So we would actually just take a wall, tape it, and start to put the story cards on it and the task cards on the board. And there was no tools, like we didn't have a Trello or a Jira. We were using a board. And we would do that with a lot of our initial teams, because if we can't actually manage something on a wall and move the cards along the journey, there's no reason putting a fancy Trello board, Kanban board, or a Jira issues manager at the end of that equation, right? So we truly believe in that. And I think as you as practitioners also should start, have that also top of mind and say, you know what, the answer is not the tool, but the answer is to kind of get the process right before you get the tools done. Of course, a lot of work across various industries, and our consultants essentially work with many of our clients. We got integration experience in many of these tools. Of course, those some of the only that could fit on this page, but there are quite a few, of course, out there. If you will, and we make a commitment to the work where we do. We have 5% of our profits and time, knowledge, and funds to local charities, if you will. So let's get to the meat of why we're here today. So in terms of tool selection, as I mentioned, that of course there's, as I said to Peter and Joanna as we were coming in, is that there's the idea of this death by tools, right? So we go in an organization, if you're an existing employee or if you're coming in as a contractor in an organization, you ask the question, say, hey, what tools do you use? And then just the people just start to regurgitate. I've got this, I've got this, I've got that, all over the place, right? And the challenge when it comes to any type of a tools conversation, whether that be you as a product manager, or whether you be a scrum master, or whether you be a coach, or you be basically a team member as a participant within a project context, delivering a product. The challenge comes in saying, well, what tool do I use and when and for what? And what you really have is tools that have become experts in their own niches, right? So I compartmentalize tools when it comes to product owner tools into various buckets, right? So there are tools that are there primarily for you to execute on your work and manage your work day to day. And then there are tools that actually are tertiary tools that are around the main tool, and they essentially help you manage that. And what has happened in the tool space is there are tools that are more like a Swiss Army knife type of a model that does everything. Then there are tools that are expert tools, right? So let's say if we start with the first box on the left, which is tool in the category of gathering customer feedback, right? As product owners, you need to understand that things that you're putting out there, or before you even put something out there, if you need to collect information about a product that you're building, there are tool sets that actually allow you to gather customer feedback, right? And there are plethora of tools, all the way from basic survey to a very complex UI UX type of a tool where you can kind of show them something and gather feedback on that, right? Then you've got tools that on the top middle box, which is prioritization, right? So once you've gathered all this information from your customers on the product, then you got to prioritize, right? So again, if the gathering is all about the features of a product, then you got to go through the prioritization exercise and say, okay, well, what are we going to build, and how much can we handle in one product release, and then break it down to sprints and so on and so forth. So then you got a set of tools that all they do is prioritization, right? Which is interesting because again, some of these tools are kind of getting into that niche, right? Then you take a look at the tools that actually allow you at the bottom left-hand corner, allow you to do planning and road mapping, right? So once you've essentially prioritized, so how do I actually plan my product roadmap, right? What am I going to release when, right? And how is that going to be broken down, right? So then you've got your planning tools and road mapping tools. Again, there are a lot of specializations in that space as well, where we can do that, because we are in the space where we've got different type of people in the organization, especially when it comes to roadmaps and fancy looking charts. You've got to ladder up to the various parts of the organization and say, well, this is my roadmap, and say, well, I can't give you a roadmap in a Kanban board. I got to make it fancy, right? So, I go to tools like AHA or something like that allows me to kind of do more fancy road mapping, if you will. Right, or a product board or something like that. Then you've got tools that allow you to go to market, right? So that how do you actually push the product out, right? But the core of it, which is the one in the middle, the blue one, is the tool that allow you to manage the work, right? So how do you day-to-day manage? So that's where your Jiras of the world come in. That's where your work management and project management tools come in that allow, and yes, I said the word project, so don't kill me, but I'll explain what that means in a bit, right? If you will. So that's kind of the crux of it, is that there are a set of things that we need to take a look at to see the tools that allow us to manage our work. And today we're going to talk a lot more about that blue box there, and even the demo is aligned to that. And I have some slides that talk about specifically what to look out for when you are talking about tools that are allowing you to manage your work, if you will. And then finally, there are on the top right hand corner, that's like your product that you've built and your app that's coming out, and that is testing tools, right? So how do I test the product? Again, UX design tools, prototyping tools, a lot of those tools kind of come into those buckets, right? So this is kind of the ecosystem of the tools and kind of the various types of tools as I see it within a world of a product manager. So as we start to now think about different types of tools and different buckets that they're in, thinking about, okay, well, what things that needs to be considered when you are either assessing a tool or picking a tool, right? So, you may be in a situation within your organization where you already have been handed, it's actually a funny pun, right? We kind of share this with some of our clients, is that, there are certain things that you don't choose in life. And if you're already in an organization and if the tools is handed to you, you don't get a choice. So the parents, you don't choose your parents, if you will. So same thing with tools, you don't choose, and you don't you're handed those tools, right? So sometimes you are in this predicament saying, well, okay, well, I don't really have a choice. This is the only tool I've been given, and how do I make the best use of it? If you are coming in as a contractor in an organization, you come in and you kind of say, okay, well, what do we use in this organizational context? And you say, well, yeah, we use this and this and this and this. And then you say, okay, well, I know 2 of them, I don't know the other 5. And then you got to go pick up on that and then figure out how do you best use that for your team and for your own work, right? But as you're kind of thinking about the tools, either you are being handed them and you are either, starting to use them or implement them with your own team, or if you are in a state where you're actually assessing tools to bring in a new tool within your teams, regardless of what type of tool it is, right? So we looked at 6 different types of tools. Regardless of the type of tools, to me, that this is the 6 simple things to consider when you're picking a tool or essentially looking to implement it. The first is box on the left is the organizational context, right? So and we'll go deeper into some of these shortly. We've got slides like that go further down, right? So organizational context, and the second one is the cultural context and the people context, right? Because those are important in terms of picking a tool in terms of what would work with this organization, right? So you have to consider things like, okay, well, what has been the past history? Has the organization used other tools? What would work for various levels of the organization? What type of leadership there is, and what does the leadership expect, right? So I'll tell you a story about this one, right? So we worked with a financial services organization a couple of years ago, and our team was brought in to implement a large mobile application and for their banking team. And we were essentially brought in to bring in the onboarded brand new team, implement best practices in product development and product management using an agile approach, and house the team. So we're securing real estate to getting the team onboarded, training the team, finding the tool that we would use, and getting the team essentially going through its norm-informing stages and kind of getting the team into a cadence to start building the product. When it came to the tools component of the conversation, when we started to consider the tools, we started to consider the organizational context, because this is a large financial institution. So we said, well, what is being used? What's working, what's not working? And we started to kind of go through that, right? So what we found is, number one, there were, again, death by tools. So, had a little bit of this and a little bit of that, if you will. But we're lucky in that sense because we were given the option to pick our own tools, if you will, as long as they were, IT was okay with it and so on and so forth, given the financial context and the security and other needs that the organization had. In addition, when we looked at further items on the organizational context, like the leadership, we found out that the leadership likes traditional reporting. So they like PowerPoint decks, that needs to be presented on a monthly basis on an executive review. So our project was one of this agile project amongst a portfolio of other projects that were all waterfall. So we were like, okay, so we are going to manage this project day to day, using agile approach, but then we need to report in a waterfall structure, and asking the PMO team there and whatnot, who was responsible for portfolio reporting, and saying, well, how do you report? And they just threw this 20-page deck at us and say, oh, this has got to be filled out on a monthly basis. And we were like, okay, well, if we're going to use Jira's not going to give me that. And then, so, I've got things like burn down charts I want to show. The deck doesn't talk about any of that. So it essentially was a journey in terms of kind of thinking about, okay, how do I give what the team needs for the team to be successful and still stay within the organizational context to then provide the leadership what the leadership needs, Another twist came within that equation, which I think all of you go through, is in our agile world, the way we do our work is different than more from a waterfall perspective. But then when you're implementing certain pieces of your project, there are certain tasks that are non-agile. Procuring a server for your infrastructure needs to host your application, even if it's a cloud-based server or on-prem or whatnot, it's still a more of a typical waterfall task. You gotta get the vendors signed up. You gotta go source out the server space and rack space and stuff like that, and then you gotta get to the hosting component and stuff like that. So there's a very linear type of task versus building the product is more of an agile. So for us, the challenge was, well, how do I take all my agile tasks and then marry that into a more of a linear set of tasks? So the way we set that up is that we said, okay, we're gonna give the teams, the agile teams, the tools to manage the day-to-day. So we picked Jira to manage the day-to-day epics, stories, tasks within Jira. And then we actually used a more of a work management and project management tool. And that's where, as I mentioned earlier, the word project management is because the idea is that that work management tool, such as Monday.com that you will see today, what it allows you to do is envelopes around all your agile tasks, but still lets you put in more traditional waterfall tasks. So what tools like that do is that you bring in agile tasks into your overall plan, where you will have agile tasks as subtasks, and then it has all the other non-agile tasks all in one plan. So the Scrum Master, and the structure that we had is we had a program manager, and then we had multiple Scrum of Scrum. So the program manager was more like a coach, managing scrums of scrums, and then each of the Scrum Masters would have their own agile workspace with the team within Jira, and then they would manage their components with their own product delivery, and each of those products would then roll up into the Monday board, and then bring into one big program view. So the program manager will manage everything from there, and then we had built a two-way connection, if you will, between Monday and Jira, where if an update was done on Monday, so let's say a program manager was in a program review with the leadership, they would put comments and information saying, hey, this decision was made, boom, it will roll down to the team, right? If the team was making updates to the Jira tasks, it would roll up to the program. Of course, at a certain level, you don't want to have, so we were managing it at the story level. You could also manage at the epic level because we don't want to get into the task level and let the team manage what they do best. So, a use case in that in terms of how do we kind of went through thinking about the organizational context and thinking about from a tools component. The other piece to contend was how do we report on it? So what we did is we actually used the dashboarding feature in Monday to then actually build out a dashboard for the executive view. Yes, PowerPoint also was needed. And what we ended up doing is that we were doing PowerPoints, but what we were doing was slowly sliding the organization towards saying, hey, look, there's opportunity for us to do some real-time reporting, real-time data, where you can see things in real time. Why spend time building PowerPoints when you can actually, do that? So, it's a more cultural challenge kind of get through. So again, some executives were, easy to convince, others took some time, but eventually kind of got to a point where we didn't have to do those PowerPoints, right? So we started with the organizational understanding, the culture understanding, abided by those, and then started to make those changes within the organization by showing them the value that these tools can provide. The third piece is organizational maturity, which is this yellow picture here, the person kind of climbing up the ladder there, right? To say, where is the organization in, and what kind of tools will they be able to adopt, right? If you will, in the tools maturity, but also this piece is important where we talk about the people and process side of the equation, right? How are the people essentially mature on the agile processes, right? So again, putting in a very complex tool is not going to answer that question. You need to kind of take 10 steps back and kind of figure out, okay, how do I get the people and the team acclimated, right? So for this particular example, our challenge was we were bringing in people from all over, and we had to basically do this quote unquote, onboarding sessions for everybody to kind of get through the same methodology, if you will, in terms of how we're going to manage that project, right? Then the other component is other tools that are involved, right? So that's the consideration of how, what are the other tools the organization uses and how are we going to connect? So this is the example of that PowerPoint, right? So we need to figure out how do we kind of update that PowerPoint and reporting from the data that's coming in. Other component is the cost, right? Cost is big. Yes, sometimes it may not be as important, but it always is about the cost when it comes to the tools, right? So so considering that and what the budget looks like for organization and what are they willing to spend, if you will, right? And then this menu card that I put in. So this is the kind of the list of, okay, what are the other considerations? So once I've looked at the strategic type of consideration, what are the more tactical considerations that I need to pick? Like, how do I do task management? How do I do reporting? How do I do collaboration? How do people update tasks and issues? How does something goes from an epic to story to a task, if you will, right? And we have a full slide that I'll talk about. What are those menu of choices that we need to get through for most tactical type of considerations. Okay. All right. So moving forward, okay, so this slide, give credit to Joanna and Peter for sharing this, and this is from their toolkit. And for those who are subscribing to their training, this is the type of things that you guys go through. You can go through that Joanna and Peter take folks through. So this is a slide that talks about organizational and cultural context when it comes to tools, right? And this is a very good slide because it actually makes you think about, there is a context for the organization, which is on the right, but there's also a context which is a team, which is within the organization. Right? So if you think about each of those components in terms of how that is structured, right? So within the organization, you want to see, well, if they are new to Agile or if they're an Agile shop, right? So considerations there to say, well, different tools will come into play in how you answer that. How is the organization structured? Is it hierarchical or flat? Right? Are they resistant to change or are they accepting to change? Right? So if you're bringing in a new tool, again, are they open or not? It's this example that I provided for PowerPoint, if you will, right? Cyclical versus just in time. How does planning occur? Right? And it's important, right, to put those things into consideration if you are actually using the Agile methodologies in an organization. Flip over into the team side. Is the team external or internal? Right? So in our use case, we had 80% of the team external. So the idea of having that onboarding session initially to make sure everybody's on the same page was very important, right? So you have to consider that as the team that you're onboarding, what is their affiliation, if you will? What is the size of the team, right? What's their commitment on this project, right? How does the task movement occur? Temporary or continuous, right? So again, these are things to consider as you're thinking about tools for your organization and for your project. So here's that menu card that I was talking about, right? So in this menu card, we've got 6 things that, and as you can see, I've not put in things that are related to UX tools. I've not put in things that are related to testing tools. I've not put in things that are related to data gathering or road mapping, right? Those are all auxiliary tools that I've mentioned. This is all related to the core tool set, which allows us to manage and plan and manage our work, if you will. So the task management, right? So in terms of, okay, again, how does the flow occur? How do I manage my tasks, right? And how does those tasks essentially show up and the team members to kind of be able to update, right? The product spec templates, right? So if I need to start to kind of build a product spec specification, right? And how do I essentially onboard that into these tools so that can start to get converted into my epics and my stories and so on and so forth, right? How do I do my retrospects, if you will, with the team, but also my demos with my customers, so then I can start to collect that feedback and aggregate that back into my work, right? External dependencies. Example that I shared is how do I connect those external dependencies in the combination of the agile task versus the waterfall tasks, if you will, right? The collaboration and content management. right? So, and note, I didn't say document management, right? But I'm mentioning content management, right? So the idea really is the content that the team generates, right? So these are your wireframes. These are your if there's a test plan, if that all that needs to be housed before it actually goes into a testing system, or if it goes into a UX design or wireframe design system, those kind of things, some form of a content management to be able to kind of put that, have that as part of the tool set, if you will. Data visualization, right? And again, note that I didn't say reporting, right? Because again, in our world, we less about reporting, but more about kind of getting the job done. But the focus is how do I empower my team, but others around me, and also the leadership involved in visualizing in terms of what's happening, right? Giving them a view of what's happening, and the idea of not just the what, but the so what and the what now. Right. So we talk to our clients about this all the time, right? When it comes to data visualization, what just tells you the information that's required, but it should always be followed up with a so what, right? So, if I have an issue with a particular task, which will potentially might impact my story and may also impact my sprint, well, the so what is that this, if I don't get this done, or this doesn't get resolved, if I have a blocker that doesn't get resolved, then how do I get that resolution, or what do I need to resolve that to be able to keep moving forward, right? So that's the so what. And the what now is always kind of working with the team to kind of coaching them to say, okay, guys, don't just come to me with a problem, but come to me with options, right? So what now? Like, what do you need from us? What do you need from me as a scrum master, or what do you need from me as a coach, or what do you need from me as an executive, or whatnot, right? And that kind of just rolls up in the organization. So, different levels of the ask based on the type of the role, right? So what do you need from the individuals within the various roles in terms to be able to keep moving forward, right? So the what now, and we always ask them to provide options, right? So option 1, option 2, and a recommendation, right? So that's what it comes to when it comes to data visualization perspective, is kind of having that structure and being able to present that. So a tool that can help you pull that information together rather than somebody sitting there and kind of pulling information together manually before a meeting or before a conversation to occur. A tool that could do that automatically for you by providing some business rules and logic is the most ideal tool to be able to do that, right? Okay, all right, so that's the last slide on the tools component. I'm going to take a short pause here to see if there's any questions before we get into our demo.
Not seeing any questions right now, at least in the chat, and everyone's welcome to put in the chat, but does anyone have any questions before we move on to the demo part? Let's go through the demo, and maybe we can get some questions at the end. I just don't want to cut into the demo too much.
Okay, all right, so. So what I wanted to do is that, and if we go longer into the demo, I just want to kind of put this slide up while I prepare the my Chrome browser there for the demo. This slide is Monday.com is offering 10% off. So if you scan the QR code, you can start a free trial of Monday.com for the product, and then if you purchase it, you can get a 10% off discount with a minimum 5 license purchase. So if you're interested, you can scan that code. I'll put that screen up again in the Q&A. But just in case if somebody is deciding to step away earlier, you have access to this offer.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. And how long is the free trial at Monday.com?
Usually it's a 7-day trial, but if you reach out to our team, if you need to extend it, we can extend it for another 7 days. So it can go up to 2 weeks if needed.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to now share my.
I know it's interesting, the perspectives that you reveal about the tool. As I said with the Dr. Kirsner story, I find it so important that as we think about tools, we have to have the process in place first, that we know what we're supporting. And I like your suggestion of if you can't do it on paper, don't try to automate it yet.
Correct, exactly. Let me go here. Okay. All right, can you guys see my Chrome browser?
Yes, we do.
All right, so this is a Monday board, and what we've done is that our team has prepared 2 different boards in Monday. One is a very similar, very simple board for you to manage your project more in a waterfall type of a structure, with having connections into Jira to bring in Jira, at either an epic level or a story level, or even a task level, i.e. issue level, so again, this is an example whereby I am using a tool like Monday.com to apply work management logic. So, for example, reminders, notifications, reporting, dashboards, and such, if you will, for all of my tasks across my entire project. So tasks that are agile tasks that are managed in Jira, but also tasks that are non-agile tasks, right? So, for example, we've put in some samples like, identify infrastructure requirements, sourcing servers, reviewing contracts. Those are all non-agile tasks that have to be managed somewhere, right? And then teams essentially ended up doing it in an unconnected way. And then now you've got multiple different sources of tools and information kind of, being managed. What Monday and Jira connector allow you to do is basically bring everything into one space for you to manage it centrally. If you will, right? And then, being able to do a dashboard or a view is very, very simple and very, very quick, if you will, in that sense. So it's a very simple board with various different columns, assignment columns versus timeline versus statuses, if you will. Another a bit more complex type of a board would look something like this, whereby you have baseline, so if you're doing actually more waterfall connection to the agile task, so doing baseline, actually managing the progress based on the task and remaining days. And some of these are automatically calculated items based on certain data elements. You can do actual start, actual finish. Again, more waterfall things, but again, if that is the reporting requirements for your organization, then those are some of the things that you need to be able to do that. So I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty of that because some of these items are automatically populated and done. So for example, if I change this task to if I change this task to in progress, you will see the timer restarts and the progress changes to delay. So some of these things are the basic functionality in Monday to be able to kind of manage the overall program into one place. Of course, there's document management and such as well. But the focus really here is to kind of see how Monday connects into Jira and brings those tasks in. So the connection to Jira is very simple into Monday, and it's simply as you just click on integration. And you click on that, you authenticate your Jira instance. So I'm going to actually show you how to build an integration. So you go to Integration Center, and you can see so many apps that Monday actually natively connects to. And this is very unique in the space, in a space like a work management tool or project management tool space where the product actually offers native integrations rather than going out to a third-party connector. So it has the native Jira integration, also has Trello, by the way, integration if you need. Slack is there as well, so you can use that to push notifications out, if you will, and then also email integrations as well, and also Teams as well for those who do use Microsoft product as well for viewing data set within Teams. So in this case, I'll click on Jira. And then what it does is that there are pre-built recipes for Jira. Now, for some of the Monday integrations, that recipes can be customized, but for others, they are pre-built recipes. So in Jira's case, there are 3 pre-built recipes. Excuse me. That you can use, and the as you can see, there's some of them are actually two-way and others are one-way, if you will. So there's Monday to Jira, so you can actually push data out from Monday to Jira, which is very unique and interesting. So we have product managers doing road mapping in Monday, and then from road mapping, they're converting those roadmaps into epics and pushing the epics out to Jira. And then we've got the Scrum Masters being assigned to those epics and then taking their teams through defining of the stories and the tasks from there. And then that rolls back up into Monday. So it can be very as complex as that, if you will. You have a connection from Jira going out to Monday, which is also very common, where if you are managing all your epics to stories and tasks into Jira and you want to push that up into Monday and manage that ongoing sync, you can do that through here. And then there's also a recipe whereby you can do an update on a frequent basis rather than every time a change has occurred, versus you can do it based on a time period. So you can do it hourly or whatnot, versus in other recipes, it would be very instantaneous. So in this case, I'm going to show you the one in the middle, very simple recipe to be built. I click on that, and what it does, it asks me to authenticate my Jira account. For whatever reason, my execute strategy account wasn't working, so I had to use my my Yahoo account yesterday to kind of get that going. So it's here, and I can click on that, and I'm already authenticated and can use that account, or I can use another account to authenticate. So in this case, I'll go here, and then what it does, it says, okay, let's pick a project in Jira. So I've set up a sample project. I can click on that, and you can see how simple the recipes are. They're actually contextual English language type recipes. So it just says when this occurs in this project, create an item and sync future. Simple as that. So you're saying when something occurs. So do you want to have any issue occur, or you can actually go down and pick task, subtask, story, bug, epic, or whatever, right? So usually what we do is we just set up a any trigger. So anytime there is something that's created within the Monday project in Jira, create a item, and this is where you do the mapping between the Jira items and Monday. So on the left, these are all the Monday board columns that you saw, and when I click on the plus sign, it shows me all my Jira fields pulled in real time from that particular project. So if you have custom fields that you've built in Jira, it will in real time pull those custom fields, and this is where you do the mapping, okay? And you kind of go through that, and essentially, so in this case, and it'll also make it more contextual. So for example, if I'm looking at a Monday field, which is assigned, which is a people column, it will only show me people columns in Jira, which is really good because I don't have to scroll through lines and lines of items, right? So it says in Jira, I find 3 people columns: assignee, creator, reporter. Which one do you want to type to? So, I'm going to put in assignee in this case, right? Versus if it's a text column, it will pick a lot more fields, if you will, right? So usually in the Jira, I do a summary for the name of the task. That is, you kind of go here, right? And you can create more columns in Monday to tie other things you can do. Things like story points, as you saw. You can bring in various other items. You can do issue type and so on and so forth. So for the purpose of this, I'm going to cancel. And I've actually already built a recipe, which I'm going to show you here. And once the recipe is built, it shows a on-off flag. You can always turn it off at any time. You can edit it, or you can delete it, right? So I'm going to go to edit, and I've already built, saying if any issue is created in the project called Monday in Jira, create an item. And here's how I did my mapping. So you can see this mapping is set up, where it can pick up the description and an item update and summary and so on and so forth. They can even pick the issue type and such. So to show this integration working, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my my Jira board here, and I'm going to set up a new story, and I'm going to say three, and if I want to put in more information about and I'm going to assign it, sorry, I'm going to assign it to me. And I'm going to click on create. All right. And then Jira is sometimes takes a couple of seconds to show this on my open board, but we'll see if it shows up on Monday. And voila, you saw how quick that was, and my story is now showed up. And it's tagged as a story. Its status is also pulling in under to do, and I can actually see my comments that I put in saying story info here. So if there's any information that you've pulled in, it can bring through. If there's attachments as well, you can do, and so on and so forth. So simple integration, it brings information in. Now, what if I go to, and this is a one-way, you can also set up a two-way where I can change statuses here, it'll change back into Jira, but for the purposes of the demo, I've set up a one-way given our time. So if I go here and if I go to my test story and I click on it, and it was set to do as a status, but if it's complete, of course, I would rather do that at the task level. But again, for the purpose of the demo, to keep things simple, I'm going to change the status to done. And this is done, and you can see when I come back here, boom. Okay, and I'm literally, this is magic. It's instantaneous, the connection. The other cool part about this is actually, if I am in the in my Monday board, and if I want to actually see the actual Jira issue, I can actually click on it, and actually will open up another tab. As long as I'm authenticated, I can log back into Jira. It will open up a tab, and then it'll go right, literally, into that particular issue. Right. So a lot of times, if you're managing things here and say, hey, I want to see what the team's working on, I can click on it and jump right into it. Right. So really cool integration in the sense to be able to manage that piece. And then in Monday, if you need to do some data visualization, it's very simple to add a simple dashboard that you can create here, and you can see. And this is why we love these tools so much, because they let you very quickly build out a very quick visualization or a dashboard to display to either to the team. We have clients who are actually putting up if you're in a physical space, putting up a big screen in the team space, and they can see all their story points and everything on a nice little dashboard presented. For those now from a virtual perspective, if you're using Slack or Teams, Monday has a really good integration where you can actually have a Teams channel where when you click on it, it'll show you your dashboard of what's happening in your team as well. So a lot of great functionality there. So it says, hey, choose your board that you want to pull data from. You can pull from multiple boards. So in this case, I'm just want to pull this. But if you are, let's say, agile coach who have multiple agile Scrum teams reporting in, and you're doing Scrum of Scrums, you can actually bring in multiple boards up and roll them up into one view. So in this case, I'm just going to say that, click on done. And then I have a lot of these widgets that I can actually leverage to be able to display, so you can have traditional Gantt. So for leadership who likes to see in a Gantt view, you can do that here, of course. In an agile world, not our personal favorite, but if that is required, then that's what we can do. You can see different views as well. I think given time, I'm going to move to the last two items I wanted to show. The other piece in Monday, which is also beneficial, is that you can actually set up multiple views for the team. And those views include, you can do a Kanban view, you can do a calendar view, and as such, right? So again, this gives more flexibility for you to see tasks in a manner that would make sense for your team, if you will, right? So you can kind of Kanban view, and then it asks you for the name and so on and so forth, and then you can actually, just like a Trello board, you can manage this across and move things around, if you will, and structure it. And the last piece that I wanted to show is, let me go back to my original view, which is my main table. And then what I could do is I can actually in real time filter my work based on person, or I can filter based on any of these columns. So let's say I want to see only the items that are stories type, right? So it'll only show me my stories. So let's say if I'm running this project and I say, hey, look, I'm going to only see my stories from coming from Jira. I don't want to see my non-agile tasks, or so if I want to see only stories or epics or tasks, I can actually filter to that, and then I can work off of here. A very quick and simple filter, which can be turned on and off at any given time.
Great. I mean, we've got a couple of questions, so
yeah,
maybe we can jump into them now.
Yeah.
So the first one was, does Monday.com and Jira Connector solve the problem of how do I show my product roadmap?
Yeah, it definitely does, right? Because you can actually, the dashboard example that I showed here, you can do some visualizations using various different widgets. These are 6 main widgets, but you can actually go here and there are, in the widget center, a plethora of widgets that you can bring through to be able to visualize. So timeline view is something that's used very commonly for a roadmap. And there's also a roll-up view across the various boards as well that we've used. Gantt view we've used as well. An overview, which is also looks like very similar to like a roadmap view. And then to be able to kind of bring that data in and being able to visualize it using Monday, it definitely does solve that problem. We use this with many of our clients today.
Okay, does that help, Mara? Or do you have any follow-up questions you'd like to ask?
Yeah, I'm assuming you have to configure things to be at a higher level. Like you need to,
yes.
One of the problems Jira has is it doesn't have a concept of feature. It's only epic.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're trying to look at features being released or funding features rather than funding projects, would you connect that with Jira, or would you only put it into Monday and then split epics and stories down from there?
I would do it. Yes, I would do it in Monday, right? So you would set up your feature. So you set up a board for feature set, and this is where you bring the feature set. You can actually do voting on the feature set in Monday and collect that data set using either a form view or ask people to vote on this and then collect that information. And based on that, do prioritization as well within Monday. And once you have the prioritization done, then what you could do is you could actually use Monday to push out if a feature set is now converted into, let's say if you were rolling down to Epic or something like that, if you want to convert that and push that out into Jira, it'll start to automatically create those for you. So you don't have to actually go to Jira and key that in. You can say, okay, I'm ready. I prioritized it. This is a feature that's being funded. Now I got to take this feature and then push that out and start to convert that into my get my team to start working on that, if you will, right? So you can certainly ladder that down in that manner and run everything from Monday, and then the teams can start working on it. And then once you've set it up into Jira, then there's that two-way connection, right? Because what I was showing earlier is that you have the integration feature where you have the two-way feature built in. So once it's built, automatically it will automatically pull that information in, which is right here. So when an item is created within Monday, create an issue in this particular project with this type. So you can set it up as an epic type with this particular field and then sync it for all future changes. Right, which is great. Okay, so hopefully that helps.
While you're there, can you just go back to the integration center for the next section? No, don't believe this. Just go back to the integration center, please.
Yeah, I'm on the integration. Oh, the other integration center. Sorry. Okay, just a second.
Yeah, I guess if you could just show, the question was, is Asana part of, there it is. There's the Asana logo.
There it is.
There.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and do all the integrations work with the same recipe, that you showed for Jira? Are they all that kind of simple?
Yeah. If you click on Asana has one, but there's lots for others. There's a GitHub as well, by the way. A lot of our clients use GitHub. So GitHub, again, native connection, and GitHub is actually much more mature than like an Asana. So you'll see that there's about 12, I think, recipes for GitHub. And again, you could push. So our clients use a combination. In a lot of cases, we'll use Jira, Monday as a central point, then Jira for the task, and then repository and GitHub to connect the three together. if you will, or Trello, if they want to do more simpler, and then I want to go Jira route, and then you do Trello, Monday, and then GitHub to connect the three together.
And certainly, the integration looks, and I gather from your experience, to be very easy to do. I know I've spent hours, days trying to figure out integrations back in the dark ages.
Yeah. So I think, and the good news is with Monday, all of these, sometimes you have to pay for additional and stuff. So with Monday, this comes essentially out of the box as part of your license. They are all included. As long as you have product licenses for these tools, you can connect them with no additional charge on Monday.
Okay, so can we download another question here? So that's great. We're getting some questions. Can we download a snapshot of the dashboard so that it can be used in an external, internal project status update to stakeholders and clients?
Yeah, you can download. You can export it to like a image file and put it in somewhere else. You can actually get a URL, secure URL that you can embed in Confluence if you want. So if you're using Confluence as a central repository, I know that for one of our clients, we actually took the dashboard and put it into Confluence because we didn't want the executives to go to multiple tools. So we took that and embedded it as iframe. Confluence has a way to do that. You can do that as well. So a lot of flexibility in that manner.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so thank you very much, Amin. Our time is never our friend as we're running out of time here, but I do appreciate you taking the time and the thoughts of sharing with us and going through your presentation with us so that we can learn a little bit more about these tools and how important it is to think about getting the right tool in place, but also showing some of the things that Monday and I know many other tools are doing to show how well they can be integrated to help make our job easier to do what we need to do. Okay, so we're just going to wrap up here. So I'll just, before I kick Amin's screen off here, just as a reminder of the nice offer that he has available to you for Monday.com for a free trial for 1 week, maybe 2 weeks if you talk nicely to Amin, and then 10% off the purchase for the free trial afterwards for a minimum of 5 licenses, right?
Yep.
Okay, well, thank you for arranging for that for our for those who are attending and listening to this. Very much appreciate it. And okay, so thank you very much. Now let me just go and move over to wrap up here for us. So what we have, we got a busy month this month with webinars. On Friday, that's coming up the end of this week, couple of days, we've got our second webinar for this week with Ricardo Vargas. So Ricardo, I count as a friend. I met him 13 years ago now. And he has more recently been with PMI's Brightline initiative, talking about transformation and business transformation, how organizations go about doing it, how important it is, and how share some of the experience he has talking to thought leaders and leaders of large organizations all over the world, as he did when he worked for PMI and the Brightline initiative for about 4 years. So we're just going to have a conversation around some of his experiences, some of his gems that he can share with you around transformation and how products are such an important part of that. So we're looking forward to having Ricardo here. Again, that will be noon on Friday. The QR code if you want to register, or just go to the newgenp.com website, and it's right on the front page. You can sign up and register for Ricardo on Friday. Joanna, can you share with us what else we've got coming up this month?
Yeah, busy month. So on Monday is the International Women Day, and we thought that we can have a panel with three amazing women, with Mette, Renee, and Teresa. And although they have such diverse businesses, they are so common and their challenges are common. And we will have a very nice discussion on how these women have become so successful and the products they are offering, going back to the products discussion and also the product ownership discussion that we want to have. And then at the end of the month, we have Trish Lynch coming in to talk about objectives and key results, or OKRs, as we all know. And that's a very technical, a very dedicated session on OKRs. And of course, we thank you so much for your patience and for your participation and for your very good questions. And again, you can find us at newgenp.com. You can email us and contact us at info@newgenp.com. And you can always, reach out to us at Joanna at newgenp.com or Peter at newgenp.com. Definitely look at our webinars. The recordings are there. We will send you recordings for this webinar as well, so look for that. And then don't forget about our upcoming course. It's an online course with University of Toronto, and that's specific to product owners and product managers. And it's starting on April 19th, and it's for 4 half days. And with that, thank you so much. And I'll see you on Friday, I guess.
Thank you very much. And thank you again.
Thank you, Amin.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.